JJ, welcome back to Breakdown, July 16th, 2024. You ready to talk SEC, Big Ten, and a lot of other stuff?
You know, it's the dog days of summer, but one thing stays consistent is us talking about the SEC and Big Ten. Let's do it.
You know, JJ,
Yeah.
Today is July 16th.
It is.
The year is passing fast. Two very big things are on the horizon. Are you ready for them?
The presidential election?
Big things. I'm talking big things.
No, more important things than that.
I'm talking college football.
Yeah.
And your wedding date.
And my wedding, yes.
It's coming.
Both of those things are coming. I'm ready for both of them.
I'm right there.
One of them I'm more excited than the other. I'm not going to reveal which on this show.
well, let's just talk some SEC Big Ten things right now.
Let's do it.
JJ, I'm going to start with conference realignment.
You know, conference realignment, it feels like this is the topic of discussion every summer.
It is.
Especially right around SEC Media Days, Big Ten Media Days. It feels like it's a time when everybody wants to know what their plans are.
What's going on right now with conference realignment?
What's going on with conference realignment? Well, we have a couple of schools that are very publicly, very actively trying to divorce their conference, is what it looks like to me.
And those schools?
That would be your Clemson Tigers and your Florida State Seminoles.
Okay.
Both of those are the schools that are suing the ACC, their conference, the ACC. And luckily for Clemson, they just got a notice that the ACC's request to move the venue from the lawsuit's original filing place in South Carolina to the ACC headquarters in North Carolina was denied. So that's a win for Clemson.
Okay.
Perchance, maybe. We'll see.
JJ, you know, people are always speculating about conference realignment. While Clemson and Florida State so desperately want to get out of the ACC, are they desperately wanted by anyone else?
No, unfortunately for Clemson and Florida State, they are not unique enough schools in their state. I don't think that they have the same desperation that some other schools might have. The SEC has a presence in both of the states that Florida State and Clemson are in.
Okay.
Clemson and South Carolina, we know. So the SEC doesn't really have much of an incentive to add those two schools.
Okay.
And also, the SEC is owned by ESPN. And when I say owned by, I mean sponsored by. The ESPN owns their rights deal to broadcast their network. And Florida State and Clemson are in a conference in which ESPN owns their right deals. So I don't see.
Well, JJ, you mentioned the SEC. There's other conferences out there. There's at least two more that I can think of.
There are at least two more, and one of them even has value.
Tell me, well, we talk a lot about the SEC and the Big Ten. Tell me about the Big Ten with Clemson and Florida State.
Well, the Big Ten, when it comes to Clemson and Florida State, you know, I don't really know if they have any desire to enter South Carolina. Clemson feels like they're SEC or bust to me. I don't really see them as a fit for the Big Ten, as a culture fit, academic. Like, I just don't understand that at all. Now, Florida State is a little bit more interesting because Florida State is in the state of Florida. And as we know, the state of Florida produces a lot of athletes.
For the Big Ten, how important is this what is it called? AAU accreditation that their members have? I think everyone except Nebraska. How important is that for them to when adding new?
I think it's very important because Nebraska had it when they were first entering the Big Ten.
Yes, they did.
I think you have to have it to get in. I know Florida State is a really good school. U.S. News has them as a top 60 school.
But they are not AAU accredited. Or is it A? What is it?
It is AAU.
Okay, they're not. They don't have that accreditation.
Now, what about your Miami Hurricane?
I think they might have it.
I think that they do.
Yeah.
They're ranked a little bit lower than Florida State as U.S. News reports it, but I think that they do have the AAU accreditation. And what do you know? They are also in Florida.
Well, JJ, you know something? We're talking about Clemson and Florida State, but if Clemson and Florida State wins, would there be any reason for North Carolina and other ACC schools to want to stay there?
Oh no, I think if I mean, for financial purposes, I can't imagine, they'd want to be disadvantaged by staying in a conference that.
Exactly. So, if hypothetically, if the ACC has a fire sale like the Pac-12 did, what would who would be the prize, and what would some of these? What I mean, just hypothetically, how would you rearrange some of these conferences if that were the case?
Well, I mean, I think we all know what the prize would be. North Carolina is the prettiest girl at the bar at this point in time. Um,
Among the ACC schools.
Among any school that's not in the Big Ten or the SEC,
Okay.
North Carolina is, they have the. I mean, as far as like the state that doesn't have a presence in either conference,
It's North Carolina.
North Carolina is the biggest state. That doesn't have a presence in either
That
conference.
is very true.
And UNC is the figurehead tentpole university of that state. Raleigh is a top 25 media market. It's like 22, and I think Charlotte is like 24. So you have two top 25 or top 30 for sure. Top 30 media markets.
Well, Raleigh is NC State, though, right?
I mean, maybe. Yeah. NC State would like that to be the case. NC State, unfortunately, is in the same situation Louisville is in Kentucky, where about half the people in the city of Louisville are Kentucky fans. About half the people in the Raleigh region are North Carolina fans.
Okay. It'll be interesting to see. Eventually, America, conference realignment is going to happen again on a major scale. There will eventually, at some point, be a raid on the ACC. How that all divvy up, who knows? But when that happens, listen. So you can say you heard it first from Joe Jackson McClure. When that happens, Notre Dame, you joining the conference. You joining the Big Ten. When the ACC gets raided, Notre Dame will go to the Big Ten. That's my take. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I think Notre Dame to the Big Ten is something that Notre Dame has been fighting for its entire existence, but eventually, it's going to dwindle down until it's going to be either the Big Ten or the SEC.
JJ, okay. Could it possibly be the SEC for Notre Dame?
It could be in the way that I think Miami would prefer to go to the Big Ten in that you get to be the shining beacon, you get to be the one outlier, you get to be the unique. Hey, come to Notre Dame, you'll play all the SEC schools, you'll have all the history of Notre Dame.
Well, Notre Dame got SEC schools on their schedule this year and next year for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about the Big 12, and I interrupted you. Do you remember? I didn't mean to interrupt you. What were you about to conclude your statement with?
Oh, no, just that, Notre Dame has been resisting it for as long as possible, but eventually they're going to join a conference because, I just think the media rights are going to, I don't think Notre Dame is going to have the weight that they have.
Gigi, I want to talk Big 12.
Okay,
Big 12 has 16 schools. SEC has 16 schools. ACC has 17 schools. The Big 10 has 18 schools. I want to talk about the Big 12. How good is the Big 12? Are they, if they get the rate the ACC, if they get not South Carolina, Clemson and Florida State, where would they be? Would they be a distant third or would they be a close second? Or close third. Close third.
If they get Clemson and
Florida State.
Well, then they would have two schools that recruit well enough to actually win
national championships.
The problem with the Big 12 is they don't have any Boston colleges or Syracuse like the ACC has that are pulling them down. Like they don't have any just programs that are just treading water, not doing anything. That even Iowa State has Matt Campbell. They've been ranked in the past couple of years. The Big 12 doesn't have any of those type of schools, but they don't recruit well enough. They're a conference that's full of teams that used to be in the
USA conference.
Well, yeah, the group. What is now considered the group of five. TCU is a new entry. Utah. I mean, everybody remembers when Utah beat Alabama when they were part of a group of five. TCU and Utah are the best programs that the Big 12 has going forward. TCU was in the was in the NCAA championship game 2 years ago, and Utah, has won the Pac-12 2 of the last 3 years, and if they hadn't been riddled with injuries, they could have won it last year.
Cincinnati was in the playoff a couple years ago as
They
well.
are also a group of 5 teams, so like they have a lot of schools. They're like the Dirty Dozen, like they're the band of misfits. A lot of schools that have been passed over, not really wanted. Those are the schools that are currently in the Big 12. So I think adding Florida State and Clemson elevates the profile of the Big 12. I think it's better than the ACC is currently, but I just think that turns it into the new ACC for the most part. I think that they are still a distant third.
Well,
from the Ohio State.
No, go ahead.
I was just to wrap it up. I was just gonna say, like, the Big Ten still has added Oregon, which is recruiting unlike anybody. Phil Knight is determined to see a championship team before he passes. Washington was in the championship game last year. USC is USC. UCLA is they're formidable, and then you still have Michigan. You have Ohio State. You have Penn State.
I agree, but I'm not so sure I agree that UCLA is formidable. But that's neither here nor there. It's going to be interesting.
I think that they're formidable in the way like Michigan State is. Where would you put UCLA?
I put Michigan State ahead of UCLA.
In recent history, they've had more success recently, but just as an all-time program, you would.
Well, as football,
yeah, absolutely.
I would.
Absolutely, football.
I would.
The sport. Okay,
I would.
I would not.
Okay.
I would put them. Maybe I'd put Michigan State one spot ahead, but they occupy the same plane of existence to me.
More on realignment, or can we move on?
I think that's enough. I mean, I feel like in the event that something happens, and once the ACC lawsuit gets settled, then we'll really then the floodgates will open. But for the time being, it's something to keep your eye on.
Last thing before we get ready to get out of here.
Yes, sir.
Title IX and revenue sharing.
Title IX and revenue sharing, yeah.
Revenue. You want to give the background for that? Revenue sharing comes into existence.
Yeah. So in 2025, everybody knows revenue sharing will be distributed to the athletes, not just the arenas and the coaches' salaries and what everything like that. It's a lot of that money will now go to the athletes. The federal government just announced that Title IX will come into play in that, which means a lot of sports are going to be cut.
Title IX out there to help women's sports, women athletics. Schools, starting in 25, schools can pay the players up to in the neighborhood of $20 million per year. The school has that pool of money to pay its athletes, which don't mean just football, but all of its athletes. Mm-hmm. And you say Title IX, women will get some of that money from that pool. So that means that football will not be as big as a net revenue generator for school because they're paying some of that money out, and it's subsidizing other sports, which means there may be fewer non-revenue sports in college in coming years.
There's going to be a whole lot fewer non-revenue sports. It's going to impact. Ironically, it's going to impact women the most. I would say there's going to be. Men's and women's sports are going to be cut, but the way it's going to impact women is it's going to transform the type of sports that you will see on college campuses. You're going to see a lot more sports like rowing. You're going to see a lot more sports that just have the raw numbers to match up with a football. Because football has, I don't know how many scholarships but they have, but most of their teams usually have more than 100 players.
Yeah, but they have 82 scholarships. And that number, most teams will start reducing that number. And they may be required to reduce it, but they will not be paying 82 players from that money. They will reduce it. NFL used to have 53 players plus a taxi squad or whatever. My guess is that the colleges will go down to 70 scholarship players. That's just my guess, but we'll see. Maybe 75 at the most.
Yeah.
But it's going to happen. And you can see right now, basketball, Calipari only basically got 9 players that he's actually paying money to. He's not paying everybody on the roster, although he did add totals, so he got 12. But everything is going to be changed because of NIL and revenue sharing. But I appreciate revenue sharing. Because if I were a college athlete, all the rules, restrictions that they had to adhere to and not get anything paid for, I wouldn't be too happy.
Yeah, I can imagine that was pretty frustrating for a lot of athletes, but it's going to be frustrating in a different way. It's going to impact like track and field, golf, field hockey, tennis, like a lot of sports that you don't, a lot of sports that Stanford is really good at are going to be impacted. So
I'm going to say this really quickly before we get out of here. The NBA draft recently happened. I'm going to say because of revenue sharing and NIL money, the second round of the NBA draft, you will find a lot of people who would have gotten drafted in that second round staying in college, making more money in college than coming out going to the NBA in the second round. That's my prediction.
Oh yeah, I mean it's already happened. Like there's a guy that went undrafted who is now struggling to make Philadelphia 76ers roster in the summer league, and it's been reported that he was offered $1.5 million from FedEx to return to the University of Memphis. This is David Jones, and I bet he's regretting that decision right now. I mean, I think a lot of people's agents will guide them to that.
Staying in college.
Yeah.
So I mean, college sports should be better. Have better people staying around a little bit longer.
I do think that will be a consequence. Before we get out of here, I'll add one more thing. Since we're talking about Title IX and NBA, let's just pivot over to the WNBA. The WNBA recently released their All-Stars, and there were 2 All-Stars that were rookies. That's a very unique occurrence. The reason we're bringing up is one was from the Big Ten, one was from the SEC. Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark.
I knew America would be able to guess those 2.
Yeah, those are the 2 rookie WNBA All-Stars. And what's interesting is the WNBA is having a new thing where they're having the WNBA All-Star players that did not make the U.S. team play against the WNBA All-Stars that did make the USA team.
Oh, okay.
So that's going to be so. Some of them aren't American, like some of them are international players and things like that. But Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark are going to be in the same team, and Caitlin Clark might be able to get her revenge against the team that she was left off of. We'll see.
We shall see. JJ.
Dad.
WPS. Woo Pig Suey. Get ready for some football. All right.
I'm always ready for basketball. You know me.
Can we get out of here?
Let's get out.
Peace, love, and blessings.